Me Too movement 5 years later. Did it fail? Part of the series, Relationship Conflict Resolution Insights from Brett Lovett's FamilyReconcile.com. That is your topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International Show and podcast by InstantMediations.com, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Catch regular episodes on YouTube, the Instant Mediations app, and anywhere you get your podcasts. Just remember, nothing in these episodes constitutes legal advice, so be sure to talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent. Hi, everyone. This is Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, and arbitrator, working throughout Florida and Texas.
And Natalia Łoskaczajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brett Lovett, and I am the founder of FamilyReconcile.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So, guys, today the topic is to discuss sexual harassment in the workplace, but we're doing it in the context of the Me Too movement and some of the things that's happened over the last 5 years. We got Brett with us today, who does a lot of training in this area, actually. So maybe you might know of Brett's recent work with us on Family Reconcile, where he's talked about ways that people can reconnect. Well, one of the things that he also works on is when there's conflict, especially in the workplace, due to parties being at odds over sexual harassment. I mean, I can't imagine anything else to be more at odds about. And so this is why we love Brett's tips and insights and ideas about these subjects, because we always want to find ways to resolve these conflicts, and that's what this channel is all about. So let me lay this down. 5 years ago, the powers that be have decided that that's when the Me Too movement started, and I'm going to screen share. If you're listening to this, be sure you check out the YouTube channel. But I got a article up from the Hollywood Reporter. This was published just a couple of days ago by Julian Sancton, and it's alleging that the Me Too, 5 years later, a timeline of allegations, accountability, and activism, and it goes through incomplete but nevertheless harrowing chronology of the worldwide reckoning that spanned entertainment, media, and politics. So I encourage you to check this out on the HollywoodReporter.com, and you can see all the different, the evolution of this topic, all the way from 2006 when the phrase first came into our lexicon, into 2016 when it was a bombshell against then former candidate Trump, to 2017 when Harvey Weinstein was being accused of doing a lot of nefarious activities for decades. And so that goes all the way to the modern day, even until recently when we were just having the Johnny Depp saga in the news. And so with this long history of the Me Too movement, and we're now the fifth anniversary of it, we wanted to take some time today, talk about it through the lens of conflict, and get some tips and insights from Brett on how we can process through the trauma of this act, this kind of thing that happens, especially against women. And so, Brett, take it away. What are your thoughts on the Me Too movement and connected with some of the work that you do?
Yeah, thanks for the platform. And I enjoy being here and being able to discuss these topics with the two of you and with our listening audience. I've been doing harassment bullying prevention for about 11 years. So I've met with many organizations and entities and businesses, government agencies. So it's in that experience, even I myself have grown from when I first started delivering these programs to how I deliver them now, in the content that the curriculum that I created or enhanced or morphed along the way. So my own understanding has grown along these lines. Interesting, because you mentioned the Me Too movement. I'll bring this up in programs where I'm right at the beginning, and I'll just say, there's a lot of attention in recent years that's been put on harassment, sexual harassment, in bullying, in the workplace, and in other areas as well. And I'll ask the question to the audience or to the group. I'll say, you know, if you go back 10 years or so, if you were to take a snapshot of whatever Yahoo or CNN or whatever it was online, right? You look at the news and you would see a certain kind of news. If you go around 2016, 2017, somewhere in there, and you were to take a snapshot of the news on that day, you'd probably see 2 or 3 references to somebody harassment lawsuit or allegation or something along those lines. So in the last 5, 6, 7 years, there's been a lot of attention drawn to media-wise, drawn to the issue. But I'll ask the group: was it always there, or is it something new? And most times the group will say, no, it was always there. So then I'll ask them, then why the difference? Why so much attention now in the last few years as opposed to 11, 12 years ago? And you'll get a varying number of responses. And I'm not looking for any specific response. I'm just trying to get people to start thinking. When I first started delivering these programs, it was very much legalistic approach of, okay, this is what sexual harassment is defined as in the workplace, or bullying is defined as in the workplace. And this, if then you're crossing this line, and here are the ramifications. That's a lot of what sexual harassment is. I look at other programs, I look at other people, I listen to other things. And in the 11 years I've been doing it, changed much, especially if they're attorneys that are delivering or legal professionals delivering. They take that very legalistic approach. And I started looking at the numbers, EEOC, post numbers, about how many complaints that there are, and I just did this 10 years, and you see kind of a wave, up and down. Some years you saw 2 or 3 years with an uptick in complaints, and I just thought, here we are spending a lot more emphasis on training, but I don't see a difference in the numbers. And factor this in too. When it comes to the EEOC and those numbers, those are the numbers of complaints. Those are the numbers on the complaints or on the issues they know about. How many issues are there that they don't know about? Right? So it's a little bit. So those numbers are a little bit skewed too. So I started seeing some real. This approach obviously isn't working. This legalistic, heavily legalistic, understanding the law didn't seem to be making an impact on people. And so went to work on, well, what is it? And I talked to people. I used my experience. I used my intuition, and I came to the point of changing the curriculum and the delivery I do from a legalistic approach to a principled approach. So before going into any of that, that's kind of the journey in the last 11 years for me, as a subject matter expert in this area, of how I've changed, of how I've grown, back on the people I deliver these programs to.
And thank you for that. I wanted also to ask you, Brad. You see, during the training for these past years that you mentioned, 11, do you see between the people who are actually doing the course any change in how they understand it, how they approach it? So, from this point of view, did Me Too bring anything like awareness, maybe fear in people? Oh, no matter what I do, I can still face the charges that I am doing that. So, what do you think it brought into human relationships, both in the workplace, but also in some sort of other social platforms? And I don't mean, of course, social media, but interpersonal relationships that people have on different levels, like church communities or any other groups that people are attending, or fitness clubs. Do you think that it brought awareness, fear, or what else did it bring?
That's a really good question, Natalia. It's difficult to answer, and I think I just would be guessing, and I don't want to lead people down. I don't want to just guess on something. It's a good question. Did it bring more awareness? If you want to just understand what the word awareness is, awareness can be a vague, abstract word. You're aware that you're alive. You're aware that you're breathing. You're aware that there's an issue. Did it bring more attention? I would say it brought more attention to the subject. Okay, um, awareness is a different type. Awareness tends itself to understanding. So to say that it conclusively has brought more understanding, I'm not going to go that far. But I will say it drew attention to it. Is attention good? Certainly. Enough? Absolutely not. So, all I could do, and I'm going back to, I looked at these things. I mean, what you just said are things that I've gone to work through to say, how am I going to do? I'm not going to just go into these programs and get in front of people and then say, well, do this and don't do that, and think that that's making an impact. I've got to do something different. We have to affect this in a certain way. And I think this is the way to go. And I'm just going to do it one program at a time. And hopefully that has a ripple effect. And then if I can get somebody to walk away, I usually go into the programs or the trainings and I'll say, if you walk away with just one point that you didn't think about before, just one point that when think on and maybe possibly adjust something in how you engage, that is a successful program. I'm not asking you to write down 20 things, and I'm not trying to change somebody's life in a 1 hour or 2 hour compliance program, because that's what they are. They're compliance programs. But if I can get them to walk away with a point of understanding that they may go, that's different. I haven't thought about it from that angle. If they can do that, and then there's a ripple effect, well, now I believe that can really make a change. I understand the thought process behind activism, and there's good people involved in that. I know that there is. Activism in no way goes far enough. Activism to me, is more akin to complaint. It's complaining. It's a platform for people to complain and say this is happening. So I understand where they're coming from. All I'm saying is it's not the solution. Activism is not the solution. One of the things when Mac was reading in the article there, and I can't remember if it was Variety or
The Hollywood
what the
Reporter.
article was. Hollywood Reporter. Okay, you read something there, and they used a certain word. They talked about activism, and I've just described how I feel about it. It can be good, but it doesn't go far enough. There's another key. This is a word I hear all over the place: accountability. And with all due respect, I don't think people really understand what the word means. I think they use accountability in one. Accountability is really has more elements to it. But the element I think most people are referring to when they use the word is punishment. So they want somebody to be accountable. What are they really saying? When it comes to Me Too, when it comes to harassment prevention or trying to make a difference here, when they use the word accountability, most people are using that in context of punishment. I want this person to be held accountable. What they mean is I want this person punished. Accountability is so much. There's three other factors involved. Punishment can be a factor in it, but there are other factors there too. So, I really at this, and I'm saying, no, we got to turn this upside down. This is obviously what we've been doing is not working. I'm in California. Here's how I'll open up a program. I'll ask the group, the organization I'm training or giving the compliance program to. I'll say, does anybody know how many legislative acts there are in California regarding harassment and bullying and whatnot? And most people are like looking around like, no, we don't know. And I'll say, somebody will say 50, and another person will say 1, and it's just, and I don't say, there's not 1, there's not 2, there's not 3, there are 4 legislative acts or bodies of laws regarding this material. And then I'll ask the question, what does that tell you? And again, I'll get a whole variety of answers. And basically, the point is this, is what do legislators do? They make laws to address issues, right? They make laws to address issues. And what do legislators do when they make laws to address issues and those issues are not addressed, or they don't go away, or they're not solved? Well, generally, legislators make more laws. And what do legislators do when those laws don't make a difference? Well, generally, legislators make more laws. Obviously, law and making more laws is not the fix here. We've already tried it. We've been trying it for years, and it's not making a dent because the numbers are going up. So again, that goes. I just looked at this and said, what can we do to address the root issue? And again, as I looked at it, and as I studied it, and as I talked to others, and as I used my engagement experience with the organizations I had been in front of, it came down to principles. And I'll tell the group, I'll say that, the state of California mandates that this be a 1-hour program if it's employees, non-supervisor employees. I said the state, or if I'm talking to supervisors, 2-hour program. I said, but I can give you the whole program in 1 word. And I'll ask the group, does anybody know what that word is? And some people will, occasionally here or there, people will get it. Most of the time they don't, and I'll just say, we're in here, and I just said the word respect. That's essentially the program. That's essentially what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about the law. There are applicable laws that I have to hit. The state of California says you must say these things. And I'll say those things, but I'll blow right over those, and I'll illustrate it that most people don't need to spend much time on the law. They already know the law. They already know the law. And I'll say, Mac, if we're in the program and I'm sitting there and you're next to Natalia, and I'll ask you your name, and you'll say Mac, and I'll say, Mac, do you need me? Do you really need me? And I'm dead serious here. Do you need me to come in here and tell you not to inappropriately touch your colleague, Natalia, grab her, squeeze her? Need me to tell you that? And if you were sitting in the program, Mac, what would be your answer to that question?
Yeah, I don't need you to tell me that. I should do it myself.
Okay. And so then I would look at Natalia, who's sitting, a colleague, and I'd say, Natalia, vice versa, do you need me? And I'm just looking for a yes or no here. Do you need me to come in here and tell you not to inappropriately look in an over-sexualized manner? Do you need me to come in here and tell you that?
Of course, you don't.
Okay. So I'm going to take that. So if we're sitting in a group of 30, 40 individuals, of your colleagues, I'd say Mac and Natalia are a microcosm of this group here, because I'll ask the group, I'll say, is there anybody else that would answer differently than what Mac and Natalia? I've been doing it 11 years. Nobody's ever answered differently. They've all said, no, we agree. And I'll say, okay, so if Mac and Natalia are a microcosm of this group, then I'm going to say this group is a microcosm of the company or the organization. And if that's a microcosm of the organization, that's a microcosm of the community here. And if that's a microcosm of society, and I'll build it out like that because I've never had anybody answer differently. I'll ask this question. If that's the case, and everybody always answers correctly, then why do we have the problem? Why am I here? Why is this mandated? Why are there 4 bodies of legislation? If everybody knows the answer, if everybody essentially knows the law, I'm breaking the law if I do this to somebody. So where I started to say, there's some sort of disconnect here. And I don't think it's a simple answer, but I think what I created in the program was enough to get people my main thinking. See, the law doesn't teach us to think. The law just draws a line and says, you're okay here, you're not okay here. And one step can be the difference. Whereas principles teach us to think. I may have the right to demand this, but even though I have the right to demand this, should I? Is it in the best interest of everybody involved, or is it just in my best interest? I started taking people down that road because I felt that was what we needed as a society.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brett. So we're going to wrap this episode up and we're going to continue this topic and other similar topics with Brett in the future. So be sure to subscribe to this channel and check it out. All right, guys. Until next time.
Appreciate it.